On the lakes and in the mountains of the Lake District, the English recuperate. It is one of their most popular holiday destinations. 2,000 square kilometers of nature. The Ice Age formed its unique scenery. The national park is renowned all over the world for its beauty. Every year, 16 million tourists come here. Some find rest on lonesome peaks. Others search for the thrill. There's a rush of adrenaline in heights of up to 1,000 meters.
It was brilliant, really, really good. Enjoyed every moment. Yeah, spot on.
We're being carried by the gentle waves of Coniston water. 16 lakes give the district its name. Its inhabitants preserved the natural scenery and their centuries-old traditions. In Grasmere, we try the world-famous gingerbread.
So what's in there? Tell me.
Yeah, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. I'm sworn to secrecies.
More mysteries await us in Muncaster Castle, the most haunted castle in England.
This is the ghost room. We have 8 ghosts, and people get quite frightened. And we even had a bishop here one night. He was horrified.
The Lake District is a region with a special charm. Just south of Scotland, with the Irish Sea to the west, lies the Lake District in the north of England. We visit Grasmere, Windermere and Coniston. On Coniston Water, Peter brings back life to the old engine, with lots of oil and fire every morning. Driven by the power of the steam engine, the yacht is put to sea almost silently.
This is beautiful. It's a living thing. You can hear it, you can feel it. It's just heart beating there. Just nice and gentle. We're standing down in engine room and talking naturally. You know, we're not shouting, we're not doing anything. And this is the beauty of it. And it's well, all the technology, all that's happening here is from 1860.
The heartbeat of tourism was started here by steam technology. The Victorian Railway brought the excursionists to the Lake District. The Italian gondola lured the tourists to Coniston Water. The original has sunk. The gondola owes its rebirth to Dennis and other steam fans. They built a perfect copy, with donation money and faithful enthusiasm for details.
It's almost like having an affair. My wife can be quite jealous of the amount of time I spend with gondola, both here and at home.
The crew used to work on big ships, but coxswain Paul assures us that he wouldn't swap the gondola for anything.
She's very strong. Yeah, she's very, very strong indeed. She can have a mind of her own. Especially, like I said, with certain wind conditions, she can be quite awkward. But it's like any good lady. If you treat it right, she'll always get you home.
She is the Queen of Coniston. On board, the scenery can be enjoyed in style. The Lake District lures its visitors not only with the beauty of nature. With its peaks, which rise to almost 1,000 meters, the national park also offers many thrills. In the only slate mine still working in Honister, these summiteers are on their way to a test of courage. Your life depends on these snaphooks, mountain guide Tom reminds the group.
Fall off, it's a long way to the bottom of the valley, okay, and you're not clipped on. So it has to be one clip at a time. So everybody happy with that, yeah? Yeah. Good stuff, okay.
The old climbing path is called Via Ferrata, or Iron Route. During the Second World War, soldiers performed their high-altitude training here. Nowadays, the tourists fight their fear, with their hands on the hook.
The adrenaline that starts flowing through your veins once you come round this corner is unbelievable. Really, really good. Well, you check it.
The laughter seems nervous. No wonder they crossed the 350-meter high Honister Pass.
No,
It was brilliant, I have to say. I was wetting myself, it's so scary. There's an overhang, and but the instructor's just sitting in his harness, hanging off the edge. It's crazy. It's brilliant though.
Well done.
After this test of courage, it is only a short distance to the peak. A fantastic view overlooking the Lake District is the reward. To the west lies the Irish Sea. And as the crow flies, the northern end of England is not far. On the way to Scotland lies Muncaster Castle, the family seat of the Penningtons. The castle has been standing here for 800 years and provided King Henry VI of England shelter from the Scots. This casually dressed gentleman is the landlord, Patrick Gordon Duff Pennington, an obliging name.
That's Frances Ramsden, who was a mistress of King Charles II, and he pensioned her off in the end, and he married her off to that fat man who he's cleaned up above, who was the Duke of Bolton. John Charles Ramsden, he was the man that introduced the bill to abolish slavery into the House of Commons. And why we really like him, he was sacked from school, sent away from school for fighting a duel over a girl.
Patrick, as we may call him, joined the ancestral line out of love. His wife, now deceased, was the heiress of the castle.
My wife wanted to come, so I came. I always do what I'm told. Do you think?
Do you want to go?
Prove it. That was great.
Daughter Iona and son-in-law Peter want to lure Patrick onto the bicycle. In the future, these electric bicycles will, it's hoped, make it easier for tourists to get from the railway station to the castle. Patrick is not convinced yet. He's still unsure.
Beware!
It's good for him to have new experiences.
It's quite easy. She's wanting to get rid of him.
No, if we can get Patrick to ride the bike, it
just
proves...
think it'd be great for him.
Muncaster Castle needs the tourists. Attractions like the Owl Show save it from bankruptcy. With the money from the visitors, the family maintains their castle. Luckily, there are 90,000 visitors per year. Grandson Ewan cleans the tables in Patrick's family business. Together with his sister Isla, he serves in the visitors' cafe. Their life is no bed of roses.
Yeah, I know. It's so much better when you have tasters out. In the cellar's flooded quite a few times, so you have to go down there with margarine tubs and start emptying out all the dirty water, things like that. It is a high life living in the castle, you know. We are very posh people.
Thank you for coming in. You brought a lovely...
Patrick lets his children handle a lot of the business, but he's still the soul of the company. The 81-year-old loves small talk, and the guests are glad to meet a real castle owner.
A lot of houses, they go in and either the owner's looking behind the newspaper, watching the racing, or the boxing, or the cricket, doesn't talk to people, he's just watching his television. And that's, well, we're not quite like that. It's very exhausting.
And it might have gone missing in the kitchen.
Oh, you're hopeless.
The tranquility in front of the fireplace is very deceptive. Indeed, the guests are well looked after, but late at night, the ghosts of the old walls awake. There are more ghosts here than in any other castle in England. We keep them waiting for a while. In the morning, we're up for an expedition in the outskirts.
The old English joke that the only difference between men and boys is the cost of their toys.
Off we go to the mountains. David is also in search of a change from his asphalt life in London. Driving instructor Ellie leads the group via radio. The route offers frightening gradients, and starting the car on steep inclines can be practiced here very well too.
Now, just to get you up this first bit. Great. Keep to the right. That's it. Keep it moving now. Keep going. Keep that gas on. That's okay. Stop there for me. We're just spinning on a bit of...
Ellie had to get out because David got stuck. Avoiding the stones, braking and accelerating, David manages the stress test with his second approach.
Keep those tyres straight. Just left hand down again a little bit. That's it. That's good. Keep it going. Bit of gas now. Bit of gas. Bit of gas. Right. Okay. No, we'll stop there.
The most difficult bit so far is understanding the size of the car and for very, very narrow tracks. Having the confidence that the car won't tip over in certain very steep places, and also in using the brake and the accelerator at the same time, which is not something that we're used to driving on the roads.
The day tour leads through riverbeds and on old cattle tracks to the peaks of the Lake District.
Just make sure that you're in park with your handbrake on, and you can switch your engine off as well. So it's going to spend a couple of minutes up here.
But that last bit, I couldn't believe a car could possibly go up that. We have 45 degrees of stone with water coming down it, and we also needed 2 goes at it. That's unbelievable. And it's a really great adventure. It's super.
And then we're just going to head all the way around to
The student drivers pay the equivalent of €75 for 5 hours. They get their money's worth. The mountains give the Lake District its rough charm. Slate shapes its face. The grey stone decorates the facades. Grasmere is the nicest place in the world. The thoughts of England's famous poet William Wordsworth, who lived here. Not only the poet made this place famous. In this small house, they work on the good reputation of their home. What looks like a chipboard is the gingerbread of Grasmere. Here they bake what is probably the most famous gingerbread in England. An original, says the boss of the company, Andrew Hunter.
The gingerbread itself is a cross between a biscuit and a cake. So it's quite chewy in the middle, it's crumbly on the top, and it just has a nice kick of ginger to it as well. It's a very unique product because it's not what you would imagine as a sponge gingerbread or whatever. This is, as I say, it's the cross between a biscuit and a cake.
150 years ago, Sarah Nelson invented her recipe for gingerbread. She left a flourishing business that her family runs to this day. The tradition is kept down to the tiniest detail. The assistants wear the old traditional costume. As soon as the store opens in the morning, customers come flocking from all over the world. For just €5, there are 12 little pieces. The Japanese love it.
The Japanese are a wonderful customer because as the first one comes in the queue might ask for 10 packets, then they all believe they should buy 10 packets each. That's great.
In the baking room right next to the shop, the baking sheet doesn't get cold. Without a pause, they bake and cut and constantly check the quality.
I have it for lunch, breakfast, dinner, every day, 7 days a week. Makes your hair grow.
A true magic cure. Only the boss knows what's exactly in this mixture. We wanted to look over Andrew's shoulder, but were politely asked not to. The queue is proof of the success of the recipe. Gingerbread tastes best when it's fresh, but they even send it to Afghanistan.
Why? Well, of course, ginger's great for the stomach, isn't it? I mean, it has some wonderful properties, ginger. I don't suppose the sugar's much good for you, but there again, you know, a little bit won't do you anyhow.
So what's in there? Tell me.
Yeah, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. I'm sworn to secrecy. So.
While the recipe is a well-kept secret, the great taste of gingerbread from Grasmere isn't. We return to Muncaster Castle. Castle owner Patrick cheers up the tourists. He recorded his stories on tape. Some of them give you the shivers.
This is the ghost room. This is where the children are crying. Quite often, people turn the lights off. I mean, the lights are turned off. Their shoes are moved around the room, and the children are crying, and people get quite frightened.
Nowhere else in England is there so much haunting as in Muncaster. A maiden has wandered around as a ghost since 1900, when she was murdered out of jealousy. Those who sleep in the ghost room can hear a child crying at night. It's supposed to be the ghost of little Margaret Pennington, who died here of screaming fits.
We have 8 ghosts. The principal one is Tom Fool. He had killed the joiner in the tea room. He sometimes used to follow me up the road, and I used to hear whether it was snowing or raining or what it was, and it quite spooked me.
Patrick believes Tom Fool lets things disappear in the house. In the ghost room, guests feel cold shivers even in summer.
So actually, I've just said to Mark, he doesn't believe me, but I do actually feel like warm, but I actually feel cool, if that makes sense. I don't know whether it's because I'm in this room or it's because you think, do you know what I mean, if there is ghosts in here and you're supposed to feel cool and uneasy, but I do actually feel quite cool being in here. But
Hallucinations. Electromagnetic oscillations are supposed to be the cause.
There's a man comes from Birmingham University who deals in the paranormal, and he's done all sorts of scientific tests on it. We even had a bishop here one night. He was horrified.
A little horror is the best advertisement. Patrick is really glad about it. The good spirit of Muncaster. The Lake District doesn't live solely on tourism. Agriculture has shaped the region from time immemorial. Every year, the Hawkshead Farm Show takes place on Ethwaite Water. It is the most important agricultural market in the area. A meeting place for the locals and an exhibition of people and animals. You can win prizes for almost anything here. Not only for the perfect egg, Gillian Fletcher wants to score with her fruitcake.
Competing against other people, especially your friends, to sort of, you know, because we have a banter between ourselves and say, oh, my cake's better than yours or whatever. So it's lovely to put them all together and for them to be judged. And just, again, afterwards, when I'll get nothing from my cake, I'll be able to say, oh, well, you know, somebody else has won.
Jennifer also takes part with a cake recipe that's anything but alcohol-free.
There's sultanas, raisins, currants. What else have I put in? There's nibbed almonds. I think I might have put cranberries in it, I can't remember. And then it's soaked in, listen to this, Asbach brandy, because that's all we had.
It will be a tough decision for the jury. Outside, the youngest show their love for animals. The young breeders participate with pride. It was a matter of finding the champion among the calves. Here he is. No sweet without sweat.
We were busy trimming it and washing it up and grooming it and washing it and brushing it and everything, just to get it as clean and good as possible. Weeks and weeks of walking and training and preparing for the show.
Margaret and Mary are the cake jury. They lend a hand and apron. For participant Jennifer, it's the moment of truth.
Well, it's a bit nerve-tingly, really.
Margaret and Mary look for the perfect cake. Their experience allows the housewives a knife-sharp judgment.
Very tasty, yes. Yes.
That's very nice.
Yeah. Do you think it's a bit dry? And it could be a little moist.
Yes, I think it could.
They will choose the winner any moment. In front of the tent, they are looking for the nicest sheep. Coloured in red to keep them apart, the winner's herd of Shepherdess Victoria. Her herdwicks are the most robust among England's mountain sheep.
I would say they're a strong beast. I call them a strong beast, yeah. Why? Just hardy, they don't really need that much care. The yows are brilliant as well during lambing. You don't want something that's too hassly. A yow will happily lamb on her own and raise a good couple of lambs and be fine. You want something with easy to look after. Of course, you'll have to look after them. No sheep is completely easy. Just a nice hardy breed, you would call it, the herdwick.
Margaret and Mary have decided. It's a surprise for Gillian. She comes second. The winner is her friend Nancy.
We're very good friends, at least I'd like to think so.
Yeah, we
are. Probably not after today, otherwise you wouldn't have told me.
Of course
but
we
no,
will.
we'll be fine. Yes.
She'll just keep reminding me, whenever we talk about cooking, she'll say, "Who won?"
Well, it's all good. It's
She
all
will
good
rub it
looking.
in.
Good luck and good management, isn't it?
Certainly there will be a chance for revenge. Hawkshead will be looking for winners again next summer. At the end of our trip through the Lake District, we have an appointment on the water again. We want to know the state of the rivers. Thanks to heavy rain, they are well filled. On the Eden River, we meet environmentalists who do electrofishing. With electrofishing, weak current pulses make disorient the fish for a short time. Will and Paul from Eden Rivers Trust assure us that this is absolutely harmless for the fish. With this scientific method, they count them.
This is a salmon parr. It came out of the nest in about May, June last year. From our point of view, it tells us that the river's quite clean because it needs clean water to survive up here. It also tells us that there's no blockages in the river because its mother and father have had to migrate all the way up into the mountains from the sea. So they've got a clear passageway right the way through, which is good.
They take regular measurements and see that the environment is steadily getting better. They find trout, but above all salmon, says Paul.
We have more salmon than trout today, and that's really, it's the strength of the flow here. It's more suitable for the salmon than the trout. The trout would be in the edges. They like to be hiding away.
As soon as the fish have recovered, they swim away. Will is relieved that the river is doing well too.
The quality of the river is the heartbeat of the whole community, whether that's the Lake District or just the wider Cumbria itself. So it's important that we keep it clean for that. But also in terms of the whole health of the ecosystem, the water is the bedrock of that ecosystem.
Waters and mountains shape the national park. The people here do everything to preserve their livelihood. After our trip, we understand why so many people think that the Lake District is England's most beautiful region.